So this is the February 28th Recreation Commission meeting. And it's called to order at 7:01 p.m. Wait, we don't have Sheila. Oh no, we do. There you are. You're small compared to everyone else. Okay. So the first agenda item is public comment, and I don't see any members of the public, so we can come back to that if anyone joins.
And I'm sorry, I may.
This meeting's being recorded. Did I say that?
No, I don't think you did.
Oh, I think I started to, and then I didn't see Sheila to take minutes. Okay, this meeting is being recorded for later playback on Westwood Media Center. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So consent agenda. Does anyone wish to remove anything on the consent agenda? All right. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Paul? And does anyone want to second that motion? Katie. All right. So I'll go through everyone who, Elizabeth, I think I've been calling on you, but forgetting that you were an associate member and aren't supposed to vote. So I won't be calling on you today. It's nothing personal. All right. So Katie, do you approve?
Yes.
And Paul, do you approve? Yes. And Mitch, do you approve?
Paul approves, I approve. No, yes.
Okay. And Sheila, do you approve?
Yes.
Oh, Paul, and Paul, you're muted.
I approve.
And I also approve. So it's passed because there was nobody who was not in favor. So now the next thing is the approval of the minutes from January 24th. Did anyone have any questions or comments on the minutes? And if not, would someone make a motion to approve them?
I'll move to approve.
All right, and second?
Second.
Mitch seconds. Katie, do you approve or in favor? Paul, are you in favor?
Yes.
Yes. And Mitch, are you in favor?
Yes.
And Sheila, are you in favor? And I am also in favor. So the minutes are approved. And so the January 2022 monthly report is the next agenda item. I think that's, oh, Rich has disappeared.
Gone? Am I
You're
not
back.
there?
You're
Oh,
back. I
sorry.
think you picked something up and it went just to the mountain.
I went skiing.
Yeah.
All right. From a staffing perspective, probably the biggest thing at this point to point out in January, if we started the process of getting commitments for our summer staff for the returning folks that were here last year, with the paperwork was due at the end of the month. And I don't have the exact numbers, but I want to say at least 80 to 90% of the folks that worked for us last summer have committed to returning again this summer, which is terrific. So I can tell you that in our MRPA Metro West meeting, there's a lot of concern about being able to get summer help this year. I mean, help just is very difficult to find everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Sue last meeting reported, that there's just a shortage of lifeguards. So there's just and I can tell you, my wife has a business, and it's very challenging to have, especially in a small business environment, to have reliable staff. So we're quite fortunate to have that many return. And I can also tell you that last year our CIT program was fully loaded with 40 kids per session. We do 2 sessions, the first A and a B, and a lot of that is overlap, but that's basically our pipeline as well. So we're very fortunate in that regard, thankfully. So that was one key highlight. Of course, last month our winter program started, and everything has been going well there. I can also tell you that you may recall a few meetings back, I talked to you about a program that we were piloting called iSteam, which was pairing neurodiverse and neurotypical children together to promote socialization skills in a Lego environment. And that program started in January. It actually just concluded last week. So it was very, very successful. And my next step is to loop back with the parent who helped coordinate the program to drop some conclusions and determine what our next steps are from a pilot perspective to see how we can try to proliferate this into some of our other programming.
Mitch, I got a question for you. So the increase, what was it, from $14 to $17 that was announced the last meeting? That's also for the summer help. Is that correct?
Well, it's that was for lifeguards, Paul.
Okay, just the lifeguards, not for the summer help.
That's right. So all of the pay was increased starting January 1st because the minimum wage went up again, another 75 cents to 14.25.
Okay.
And this is the fourth of 5 increases. Next year it'll go to 15 and then stay there at least hopefully for a while. So we'll have one more round next year. So all of our entry-level staff will start at 14.25. And then all the grades above that up until senior supervisor were adjusted accordingly as well.
Do you think that's all then going to be the issue, or with those people who are not coming back, or we don't know until we know, right?
Yeah, no, a few of the individuals that are not coming back that we've talked to are trying to get internships and things of that nature, which is not uncommon. Once they've worked for us for 4 years or so, they typically will now be in college and they start to look to get internships during the summer that will be more in line with whatever career they're pursuing. So that's not uncommon. So I did not get the sense from anything that I've heard that that pay is the issue. So lifeguards are different, but for our counselors, I think we'll be in pretty good shape.
Okay.
And I can also tell you that any day now we're going to post all the open positions on the town website, and we are receiving I would say 3 to 5 calls a week asking us when we're going to post those. So I expect we're going to get a pretty decent amount of new employees. Many of those are CITs that were last year CITs, so they're anxiously awaiting the posting so they can get that going.
That's good.
Okay.
Excellent.
We've started the process of field scheduling for the spring, and that's going well. And then the only other quick update I'll give you, actually, let me just see. No, I'm going to hold off on that because it's part of my agenda later. So I'm just going to give an update on the pool deck, but I'll give that in a minute. So,
Okay.
so those are the highlights from the monthly report for January.
Great. Okay. So the review of the bylaws is next, and this was your request, Paul, but it was interesting. It was an interesting read. And they are found on page. They're right after the
Right, page 5, I think.
yeah, right after the report.
I don't know.
Excuse me.
So, I mean, I'm happy to read through these, or we could just start talking if everyone did read through them. What would you prefer?
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I didn't mute the cough. I'm sorry.
Fine.
Is there like a question that Paul or anyone had about the bylaws? I know since it's on the agenda.
Yeah, sure, Mitch. So my I'm looking at 2 screens, so pardon me. I have not perfected this art yet, so I'm looking.
Yeah, I'm
away
looking
from
at 2 also.
from the camera. And one of the things that I just really wanted to do is just to see that if we were in line with what our roles, what the 6 of us and potentially 7 are supposed to be, and what all the the requirements were, like how it was in writing that, like, if there are 7 members, you need 4, for the quorum and all that sort of stuff that we've kind of basically understood, but not really, never saw it really documented as far as what's going on. There are a couple of things that, that I wanted to, confirm, like, for example, after these minutes were, like, way back in 2015 and 2016, we finally started a secretary doing it. Before, I think it used to be a recreation person would come in and write the minutes, and then they would get distributed, and then finally someone couldn't make it, and I picked it up, and then finally a position for secretary came on board. And it's in, and like, if you go, into some, so I'm just throwing this out just as an example. If you go to section 4 where it says, I think if you go to section 4 meetings, and wait a minute, see, this doesn't come out right. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. Is it 4? Was it F? 4E meeting, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Where I guess so. Did we approve the budget in January? For example, stuff like that. We are, in June, we vote for a chair, right? And a vice chair, but it doesn't say that we vote for a secretary. For some reason, this doesn't match up with what Angela set out. This is different than the one that Angela set out last week.
Oh, it is? Oh, geez.
Hold on, let me just take a look at this. I'm sorry.
I'll pull up Angela's too.
No, I'm sorry, not Angela. I'm sorry. What, from Rich Adams.
Oh, Rich.
No,
Okay. That's who I'm searching on.
It's got to be the same because
it's gotta be,
I
yeah.
literally printed it.
Then I probably messed up some numbers. I'm sorry. And then, well, for example, in one section, I'm sorry, section 4D, I guess it is. It says something to the effect.
That's the organizational meeting
Yeah.
in June. It doesn't list secretary as a
Okay,
position.
yeah. So that's just a small item.
Well, in
it's
section
a-
5, they address the secretary.
It does, but it doesn't do it. It should, where.
It should be in both for
It should be in
consistency.
both, yeah. It
Okay.
should be in both, right? And.
You should go to law school. You should become a lawyer. That's
See that, Rich?
very, no, it's true.
Yeah.
It's a legit point. It's
Yeah.
included in one, but not the other.
Right. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I
Thank
mean,
you. So, and the other thing too is, and I know this will bring up another, discussion, but I see us as having 6 members, and that there's supposed to be 7, and the selectmen are supposed to be filling a position of that 7th person, and that's not happened. So, and things like that. Again, just wondering if we as recreation members are, assisting the recreation director, in this case, Rich, as we should be, as our roles are calling out for, calls us to do a little bit more, if you look at section 2E, on the document, to assist and advise, wherever practical, are we doing our best as Recreation Commission members to fill this role as outlined in the bylaws? And again, I haven't had time to, I was on vacation last week, and probably I'm catching up with of hundreds of emails and just haven't really looked at it. But I would think that just as an opportunity for us to read and see what we are in agreement with this. And if we are all in agreement with it, then we just make those 1 or 2 changes about adding secretary in a section that's missing. Like I say, and then making sure we're staying in line with stuff. Like, for example, next month, Rich, you typically do a review of the annual report, but did you know that, the annual report was due in March? Did you know that?
It's due April 1st this year, Paul, and
Okay,
I think last year it was due April 2nd. In fact, in this document is a draft of the commission annual report,
right.
which I drafted for you all for your consideration as a convenience for you guys. We are working on our annual report this month as well. And the first draft is due to me, I want to say next Friday, whatever that date is.
Sure. So if we are, like in this report, if we are going to, keep the bylaws consistent of what you see is important to us, Rich, then we should, my thoughts are that we should probably incorporate that into the bylaws, right?
Incorporate what?
What you just passed said. So you said the reports to, just tell me repeat what you just said.
Yeah. So I want to say that I read that in here. Again, I didn't notate, I don't remember
Yeah.
exactly which section that's in,
Okay.
but I thought that was in here.
Okay. So,
It's 4F, right?
Yeah, but it just says it's due to the commission at the March meeting.
and that's the annual report. Now, that's not the only report that you give us, basically, right? You give us more than the annual report.
Well, but I know, well, yeah.
But we do always review the annual report, don't we, in the meeting? I feel like we have.
Mhm.
Not
Well,
necessarily in March.
That's why
but-
I included a draft this meeting. And hopefully you guys would review it if you have any comments or if you want to add anything or subtract anything.
Yeah.
And then you'd be able to, I guess, approve it for next meeting, and I would submit it on April 1st.
Right. Okay.
That was the intention. Yeah.
Sure. And I still can't find the section where it just says you vote for the chair and vice chair.
June, the
June.
reorganization, it's in, I think it was three,
Okay, no, 4D.
no,
there it is.
4D, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So your
I don't want
point,
to get overly
Yeah.
bogged down in this stuff because we're a
Yeah.
recreation commission and we should be thinking of fun activities and the recreation, but we
Yeah.
can't amend our own bylaws. I mean, the bylaws were put in place by the selectmen by their vote. I don't think we can simply on our own.
No.
so
no.
Enlarge our scope.
anticipating that very point, Mitch, I spoke to Dottie to say, what if they wanted to amend this, meaning you all wanted to amend this, what is the process? And so if you felt like there was something in here that needed to be amended or you wanted to be amended, you could vote to amend it. I would then bring it to ultimately it would go to the select board for approval and I would talk to Chris and it would ultimately go to a vote to the select board. So you can vote to recommend a change, but you cannot change it
Right.
Per se without approval of the select board.
And then it's filed with the office of the town clerk. Apparently, well,
That's
according to
correct.
what happened in 2015, right?
That's correct. As a matter of fact, if you look at page 1 of it, you'll see a stamp in the top right that has the date when it was filed with the town clerks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Excellent. So
I-
but I don't want to go through this whole thing as far as details. If people have it, maybe we can just, like at our next meeting, we can decide if you have any, I personally think it's probably small, but maybe we, if we have any other items, then we include the secretary. If we don't have any items, then we can decide not to, look for, making any changes to this. But, again, I would like everybody just to look at it and then maybe at the next meeting, we determine whether we want to do it or not.
I can tell you from when I got this from Dottie and read through it, I did not read anything glaring that you guys are veering from off of this document. There's nothing that jumped out at me, in terms of the things that we talk about and what have you, with perhaps some of the timing of the budgets and whatnot, and that just may have changed. I don't know what the budget
Sure.
process was back in 2015, but I know that the things that it talks about with regard to the budget, like we go through, right, at some point during the year. And so that was really the only difference that I noticed, was that maybe some of the timing and some of the months were different, but that's probably because the process with the town has changed over the years. And although that's speculation.
The one thing I noticed was that I don't remember us specifically talking about waiving the leave of absence that I probably should have had by this point and others should have had. I know there's no members waiting to take our places, but I've
Right.
definitely served more than 2 terms.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, and maybe we should adjust that. I mean, we should, consider talking about that. I mean, again, I don't think anybody here has really read through. I'm guilty as charged, but I have not read this whole thing and gone through it with a fine tooth comb as well. But though that's very important. That's right, Ann. I mean, I can say probably all of us in this on this call, with the exception of Katie, who just recently joined, have probably run more than the gamut than we're allowed to run. So we have to.
and
We
we,
have to
we
look
are
at those
allowed to stay
bylaws.
longer if there's nobody waiting to fill the seat.
But where does it
Right.
say that?
I thought
It says
said
it right in here.
Yeah,
It says it in here.
I'm pretty
It does.
sure that that's okay, Paul.
yeah,
No,
it says
yeah.
it in here. Again,
Yeah.
I can't quote the chapter and verse, but it
Yeah.
does.
Okay.
It does
Oh,
say
I'm
that in
looking
here.
at it right now. If there is no associate member or town resident interested in filling the available seat, a current member who has fulfilled all term limits and is in good standing may request to the Recreation Commission and to the Board of Selectmen to continue to participate as a commission member. I don't think we do that formal process, was
Okay.
my point. I don't think that,
I think there is a process. I remember a process being in place, being reached out, it was with Mike Gillette and his administrative person, Christine. She would always send a note if, are you interested? Do you want to continue?
oh, that happens, yeah, but
Yes.
we
Yeah.
don't, I have never requested to the Board of Selectmen that I continue. They reach out to me.
Yeah.
It's not working the same. And no one's mentioned that I'm supposed to take a leave of absence.
Yeah, no,
For a year, right?
Yeah. And I think if there were people waiting, like
Yeah,
they should mention it to
them.
us.
yeah, of course they would. I think they would.
But
Okay.
you're right. Christine does reach out to us to ask us if we want to stay.
Okay. So where was that? I'm not great. at
That
this.
is 3A.
Okay.
And then the Board of Selectmen is supposed to vote on that.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever voted on extending.
Well, they vote to approve your reappointment.
yes, correct.
Okay.
So that has occurred for
Okay.
everybody here.
Yes.
Your appointment and
Okay.
reappointments have been approved by
By
the
the
select board.
selectmen, yes.
Okay.
So
Very
in
good.
there somewhere, it must say that they're extending.
Mhm.
Okay,
Well,
great.
and
It'll be
again, it
on
would
the
be
normal time.
They
Okay.
would distinguish her as a reappointment versus an appointment, right? So Katie, when she first came aboard,
Mhm.
she would have been appointed. The rest of you, and I forget who was just reappointed
Oh,
in June. but-
Elizabeth, there were a bunch of
Right.
people. Paul.
And I think you were right. But anyway,
I don't know that
whoever it
I was this time.
You were reappointed. Whoever it was reappointed, and that distinction
Yeah.
is made.
But you would get reappointed after your first term anyway.
Correct.
This is a special reappoint. This is an
Mhm.
extension after your
Mhm.
second term. There's a difference, according to this.
Okay,
So
so
I
I guess
don't remember the difference being highlighted, but
sure. So I guess if everybody, if we just, do we vote on this, like not to amend it, or do we just ignore it and just move on? I mean,
I
Like-
didn't see anything that, you did
Yeah.
point out an inconsistency, but
is it worth, doing the paperwork and going through, wasting everybody's time to add secretary? There are some formatting things. Why do we have, the commissions, on section 4 and section 5 and the vice chair and whatever. But maybe again, I don't want to put everybody on, I don't want to spend too much more time
Yeah.
on this, but it's good for us to know that we should probably take a look at this, and individually, it's something that we could probably take a look at and understand what our role is, and maybe help Rich a little bit more with in the recreation department. They're talking about for us to go visit. I saw a section here, something about going to visit the programs, actually, going in and seeing how the programs are doing and commenting on them, and stuff like that. So I don't know, it was, I thought part of it was interesting to read for me. So,
Mhm.
whatever.
I have to say I don't do that,
Yeah, so we can
but
say tonight
interesting.
whether we want to continue and take another look at this over the month, and on the next month we decide, we submit all our changes, or we can decide right now and say, I think it's fine, let's let it pass for this time. So whatever the suggestions are on how we handle it is fine with me. I just wanted to bring it up.
It looked fine to me. It was interesting.
Yeah.
But it looked fine.
Yeah. But you're on mute.
He doesn't look like he's on mute though.
I
Nope.
know.
Can
Oh,
you hear
yeah,
me?
Yeah, now we can.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I'm fine with it.
Okay, good. Sheila, same thing?
Yeah, I'm
Katie?
fine with it.
Perfect. All right, so there it is. That was an easy one.
Okay.
Yeah, good. But it
Netting
was,
for-
something, Paul, it was an interesting and good exercise, I think, to review
Yeah.
it and make sure.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
So,
I found
it
it
was
very,
definitely worth-
very
It was
helpful.
definitely worthwhile.
Yeah. So,
All right, so
Fun.
next item is netting for the basketball, sorry, not basketball, Westwood High School baseball.
who thought of that?
Yeah,
Paul, this
you're
is-
looking
this
for
is-
an update, right, Paul?
This is another one. This is another Paul item.
I
So
know.
Paul, as you know, I have finally been reaching out to a company who does this type of netting.
Sure.
And as you can see, I've attached the quote that after a long conversation with him, and there's no perfect answer for this. But what we talked about was putting up netting next to the tennis court by, as close to the tennis court as we could get, about 40 feet high.
Wow, that's pretty
Okay.
high.
Yep. So,
That's,
and
that's
there's,
taller than Zavarians.
I don't know how tall theirs is, but
Yeah.
it's here's the thing, and we talked about all the different possibilities. If you put it closer to the baseball field, you probably don't need to be as high, but then you get the pop-ups. And do you want to stop the line drives, or do you want to stop the pop-ups? Obviously the higher you go, the more you're going to stop. And so there's no perfect answer. And from what I've been, from all the conversations that I've had with now 2 different companies, and other conversations we've had with folks who are very familiar with baseball and baseball fields and whatnot, that we're not going to be able to stop all of the balls from ever going where we don't want them to go. In this particular case, the tennis courts. The quote that you're looking at is for the net and the equipment, the poles, etc. It's not for installation. He said that installation, and I have not got a quote, nor will I until this will ever be ready to move forward. But he said typically count on 2 to 3 times the cost of the equipment for installation.
Wow.
So just so you know, and again, Paul, you mentioned Zavarian, right? Think about how elaborate that their netting system is. They have balls. I've talked to the AD. They still have balls that go into Clappertree Street with what they have over there. And that's the type of system, if you're going to go that high, you need. The footings for these poles will go down, 12 feet.
Right.
Because when you put up a net that big, that high, it turns into a sail. Okay, even though it's a net, the wind really blows that thing around, and you need a lot of support to hold it up. So, I mean, you're talking minimum 1 1/4 just to do that type of netting there.
Do you know how long, if you install a net base, what is the life that before you have to replace it again?
Good question.
I'll see if I have anything on that, Sheila. I don't know. It's
Because if it's like a 10-year life, I can justify the 1 1/4, to be honest with you.
Right.
yeah.
If it's a 2-year life, it's.
No,
this is
It's hot.
ridiculous.
No,
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah.
It's not a 2-year life. It's more than that. I don't know exactly. I'll get that answer for you guys.
Okay.
I don't.
Hi, Scott, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
It's great you're doing all the work, but certainly we have the high school, or the school department has a interest here because it's their baseball field, and we as a recreation department
Mhm.
don't run any drills in the baseball field. We don't cause the balls to come up. It's high school baseball, it's Babe Ruth, it's American Legion. So where's the school department on all this, and where would the money come from?
Well, we haven't had that conversation yet. This is just, I don't know, 10 days old or so. I just received the quote recently. I'd have to vet where this money, if this is something that you all want to move forward with, we'll then have to find a funding source. And I agree with you, Mitch. It's a matter of, I have a feeling, I mean, I've talked to the AD for the high school, and he would certainly support doing this. I'm not sure, we never had a conversation as to would he be willing to pay for some of it or all of it. So I would have to have that conversation to see if they have any interest in paying for it.
You're going to Matt for this, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you then approach Little League to see if they would do some type of a cover a percentage of it as well? I mean, because it's helping their program, right?
Well, I certainly could. And I guess the only, if I were them, I would say, well, what is it doing for me? Right? It's not protecting them. I don't know. Would they pay for it? I don't know.
So do they have liability insurance? I mean, does their liability insurance cover foul balls, people getting hit with foul balls? Because all the teams, Little League, Babe Ruth, they all have to present liability insurance.
They have liability. Yes, they do. Yeah.
Okay, so will that cover injury? So they would probably say.
I'm going to assume it would, but I've never asked them that specific question.
Well, it seems to me, I understand both the high school, perhaps the baseball team, Babe Ruth plays there, and also Legion would say, well, what do we care? If the balls aren't going to hit us, it's going to hit tennis players. But they're using the field, so they have a responsibility to protect others, and shouldn't just run off scot-free on this.
Right.
Yep.
So
So maybe the next step is to talk to Matt and find out, what they've already thought about, talked about, what you found out, and what his thoughts are.
yeah, so I'm looking at three things here. I'm sorry, and not to cut you off. Are you done? You all
Yeah,
set?
go ahead.
Oh, okay, so I'm looking at three things that we have to find out. The length of the net, or we're gonna ask Rich if you could find this out, then the length of the net life.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
The liability issues with, whoever's playing from the baseball field, whoever's playing there.
Yep.
Like and then the third thing is the funding, where we're gonna get that from. So, I mean, say someone gets hurt, right, on the tennis court, right? And we're holding a tennis lesson from the recreation department. So if someone gets, and again, I'm just throwing this out here. So Mitch, you could, I know you can answer this, but say if a ball from baseball hits a kid on one of our classes in the tennis court, who's now liable? Is it the recreation department? Is it the baseball field? Is it the high school? You know what I mean? There's three things.
An attorney would sue everybody, but the first layer would be the recreation department. They signed up, and though there's a waiver, still the mother would say, well, you put my son on a tennis court where you knew balls were coming from the baseball field. So they go after the town of Westwood recreation department, us as commission members. And then there would be some.
So what, we have personal
go after-
liability for this?
Probably
Rich?
not, but probably.
Yeah, I'm off the commission if I have personal liability for that.
No, we would be
Chairman
covered, but they would
only.
name, but a lawyer would name the recreation commission if there was an issue with the recreation. We wouldn't be personally liable. The
Okay.
town, I'm sure, would defend and indemnify is the
Yeah.
term.
So I have a question about that. Since we're talking about this and making a recommendation and we don't go forward with it because it's a financial burden and the incident happens, what's the risk there for a lawyer?
The risk is there would be a claim brought against probably the town of Westwood, Recreation Commission. They signed up through the Westwood Recreation Commission, but a lawyer, if the injury was serious enough, would likely bring a claim against the Recreation Commission, the town of Westwood.
Right. I mean, and from a PR standpoint, if we don't move forward with it now that we've brought it on these recorded sessions, I mean, it's just one of those things. How do we say no to the money if it's really a heavy liability? I guess.
Well,
that's
we
my
don't
next
have
question.
control over the money. We only have control over our recommendation, right?
But if you
Unless-
have a recording and the recording presents that there was a netting proposed and we
Yeah.
we said we're not gonna move forward, you have an attorney that can use that. Is that not true, Mitch?
True. This is a public record, so if I were an attorney, they would scour the meeting minutes. However, they'd also have to prove that the injury would happen even despite even with a net there, despite a net, meaning even if you had the netting,
Right.
we would have been injured, so it wouldn't have prevented it. We've put this on the record now, so I mean everyone's aware of, and I'm sure we're not the only ones who've talked about balls flying out of the high school and Thurston. And when I was on the Westwood Little League board, not to
Yeah.
clearly Sheehan was a dangerous area because there's 2 ball fields and there's balls flying all over the place
Yeah.
and no one's ever done anything about that. And I'm
Yeah.
sure people have been hit. And I know people have been hit because your backs to each other and there's opposite fields, and that's a dangerous situation. And that's been talked about on the record, and nothing's ever been done about that. We're going too far afield. That's not our
Yes.
purview as a recreation commission. But there is some exposure now that we certainly brought this up. And if
Yes.
we recommend doing it and then the town doesn't, that could be used against the town because they failed
Yes.
to take action.
Yeah.
So we're talking to Matt Gillis to get his opinion on the potential safety issue
Mhm.
on these fields. I mean, there's other fields, even, as Mitch just mentioned, there's Downey too, and we're going to see what, if anything, liability insurance is carried by, the school although that doesn't prevent injury.
I mean, have we done a real formal evaluation of this ball situation? And if we have, what did that look like?
I don't think we did.
How many
I mean,
balls
Is
are
there
we
any
talking about?
documentation? So if you're in Little League and you get hit by a ball, is there a record at Little League that someone got hit by the ball outside the field?
I don't, so what I did when my wife was hit with a ball, I went to Mike Gillette, filed a claim, and he took care of all my out-of-pocket expenses for Sharon's injuries.
Oh,
Huh.
Mhm.
So I
Interesting.
went right,
Okay.
I went right to the town. I went to the town, town administrator. I went to, Mike Gillette at the time. It was a
So
few
are
hundred- it
so
was a
are
few
there
hundred-
records? There
it was a
are
f-
records of people who have been hit by a ball
If they
that
knew
we
to
could
do
have
that.
formally look at to see, the risk that really, because, Paul, I understand your wife was injured, and
Yeah.
so we don't want to have, and that was at Thurston though, not at the high
Right,
school.
it was, yeah.
It
Yeah.
was at Thurston. And your claims were paid out of pocket.
Yeah,
so you didn't have
everything was
any
taken care of.
exposure.
Yeah, it was.
Mhm.
I
Did
saw
you
someone
file a
injured at
claim?
Downey watching soccer, and a ball came over from the ball field there. Person right next to me, it was like an inch from my head.
A soccer ball?
Baseball.
No, baseball. Baseball from the, we
Yeah,
were
the ball,
watching
right.
soccer and the baseball came from behind us.
Mhm.
And I saw her kind of do that, and that's how I knew. We didn't see it coming. Yeah.
And so I'd be curious, I know we're looking at Zavarian as a sort of a, our benchmark, but what are other towns like Westwood doing for netting, if anybody knows?
It's different by town. Like I drove through to a couple of ball fields in Walpole last year just to look at what they were doing. And again, it was just there was no formal assessment. It was just what their fields look like, and it's different in every town, but it's a problem in every town because baseballs are very, very difficult to contain.
Yeah.
You can erect these mammoth nettings and they go over them. I mean, this is not going to stop everything, just like the thing at Zavarian doesn't stop everything currently.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah, and that goes to Mitch's point that they'd have to prove that if we had put a net, that it would have stopped the injury.
Yes.
There's a netting
don't-
issue I know
Yeah.
with Little League, and I don't want to keep referring to Little League. I don't want to sound like a former member of this commission, but there is high netting that they did. Morrison was redone completely during my time there, and the field was reconfigured. So
Yes.
actually, there were more balls that went over, and we installed as high a net, I think, that's physically capable, but there's still balls that fly out of there. And the neighbors still, it's been an issue there for years and years.
Really?
Balls
Yeah.
leave the park, go out on East Street, and
Mhm.
people go into people's yards.
Cars.
So it's going on there now. Again, I
Yeah.
haven't been, my kids are older now, but it was an issue back in the day, even when we
Mm.
put the new netting on the new field. Balls still went over there.
So if we find out if a claim gets filed once every 5 years, it's kind of irrelevant to keep going through this, right? Like, is there a number that, or
Yeah, that-
once every 5 years is relevant?
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good question.
I don't remember, again, my two boys played all the way through Little League and Babe Ruth and Legion Ball, and I was never aware of an incident, well, that I'm aware of. I mean, there was, Paul's wife, yeah, and the
And
Thurston
Paul,
is
when
known.
your wife's incident, when did that happen?
Oh, years ago, probably when this was when Nicole was running the show, when she first came on board. When was that?
Okay, so it's
20
5 to 7 years ago,
2018, maybe
2018. Okay.
2017,
Yeah,
Or
I
not to-
started
not-
at the end of 17. It had to have been before that.
2016 then, yeah.
And not to bog this down, but because we could really get bogged down.
Yeah.
Thurston is known, anyone in the know, people don't park in that Thurston lot when there are games going on in Thurston
Yeah.
because balls fly over just where Paul's wife was hit.
Yeah.
It's been that way for years. But the roofs always get dinged. If you're in Westwood, you don't park your car there during games because invariably
Mhm.
a roof will be hit almost
Yeah.
every other game. I can say
So
that.
it's almost like, I mean, which fields would we address, and would there be a netting that would stop it? And maybe Chris Coleman has information about how many incidents have been reported. How
No,
big a deal?
I
worth
can check
exploring.
with, it wouldn't be Chris, it would, but I can check with the person who would know that. It's Maria
Okay.
Leary. She handles the insurance, and I can check
Okay.
to see what kind of records she has that would
Yeah.
be able to quantify that.
Okay.
So
All
I
right.
added that to my list as well. So
So
I'll keep plugging away on this.
more to
but I
come
just-
on that one.
I just wanted to let you know that it's a fairly, this is a big project to do something like this.
Mhm.
It's not as simple as sticking some, fence poles in the ground and putting up a net when you go up that
Mhm.
high. And
Mhm.
if you're going to spend this kind of money, any kind of money, it's crazy to do a short net because again, it's not going to. I mean, what's the fencing at those tennis courts? 12 feet anyway,
Yeah.
right? Or maybe even more. And in order to be effective, you got to go high.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it's not gonna change the game at all.
Yeah, yeah. So, before we go with this, so like, Beacon looks like they're making an estimate based on what they've seen before, right? So, as it says in the quote, installation is not included. Beacon can assist in recommending an installation vendor. Then we should, okay, who's your recommended installation vendor, and find out what it is, because if we go to Matt with just this proposal, if we do, then he's gonna ask you what the real numbers are, and we don't have the real numbers.
Well,
I would-
again, he said just as an estimate, 2 to 3 times
No, I got
what
it.
the cost of that is. So,
I got it,
you
but two times 37 is a lot better than 3 times 37. So,
yeah,
I mean,
this is not going to be too dissimilar. If you recall, I don't know how anybody followed the installation of those light poles, but it's going to be very similar. They're gonna put down some big sonotubes and they're gonna fill it with concrete, and those poles will be bolted to that concrete, and it's an involved process to get
No,
those things installed.
so that's what they're doing. They're installing the poles. Right? They're installing those.
That's part of their installation piece.
That will be the majority of the installation. Yes. Then of course, putting
So-
up the nets, which is just stringing the nets up.
So Beacon Athletics is, okay, I'm sorry. So you're saying Beacon Athletics is including the installation of floor black painted steel support posts with welded attachment points.
That's the equipment that's included, not the installation. So think of it, Paul, like when we did the lighting project, Musco sold us the equipment, Island Lighting installed it.
Okay,
So we need to hire a contractor to install it.
okay, I'm sorry. Just confirm for me, Rich, that the installation of the poles is not included in this $37,000 to $40,000 estimate?
That's correct, just the poles
They're
themselves.
just gonna deliver the poles and drop them off.
And the netting and
And the
everything,
nets.
yeah, yeah, it's just like Musco did, yeah.
Okay,
So.
Yep.
So for
the
purposes of
number-
the conversation, if you say it's 3 times, that will be, I mean, it's not that much difference for a town. 37,000 is not. Katie, I'm sorry, were you trying to say, and Sheila, you were trying to talk
Yeah, I
to?
was just gonna say, if we find out that there was only one claim filed in the past 10 years, this is all irrelevant, kind of, right?
Probably, yeah.
To find out that you have got 2 claims every single year, then you probably should look into it to cut down.
And then look at where those claims are happening too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
agreed.
All right,
All
so more to come and move
Keep
on.
plugging away, yep.
Okay, perfect.
All right, so the town report 2021.
Yeah, so page 11, sorry, my whole packet's getting jumbled up here. So I included, just like I did last year, a draft of what I thought were some of the highlights that you would want to include. Basically, what I did was, and each month we give you the monthly report. I went through some of the significant things from there, as well as perhaps a few others, to come up with this draft. It's very similar to last year, but when I say last year, I mean 2020. And keep in mind, this is a calendar year summary, as opposed to a lot of the things that we do are fiscal year. This is a calendar year report or memo. Okay. So I included this for you, and if you want to go through it
Good.
now, you can, but I figured I would include it now. You could read through it, and then next time, if you have any changes that you want to make, you could, communicate them to me, and I'll have a final draft for you next time to approve.
Can you fix the spelling, like the last line that says instead of painting, can it be painting pickleball lines?
Yeah, if there's
Yeah,
a
that's-
spelling issue here,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
yeah.
And I was like, oh, it looks good. I didn't even see that. I think I just jumped to pickleball lines and didn't read the beginning of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was looking for the ice team and I saw that. Westwood Day is on there. Yeah. The fireworks the weather was perfect this year. It was good.
I was home with COVID.
Oh, I remember you
Ouch.
said that. Yeah. It went through the department, right?
No, actually, no. No, I
Oh,
was,
it didn't.
no, thankfully.
Okay. So let me hold on, scroll back up to the agenda, see where we are. Sorry. Oh, I'm not up to page 1 yet. Okay. So March into summer,
Yeah, so this year,
virtual.
yeah, it's going to be virtual again, especially, we, at the time when we were making this decision, Omicron was going crazy, and the feeling with doing an open house with all that many people in the pool was just not the right thing to do. So we're going to, just like we have for the past 2 years, March into summer is basically just going to be a registration event for us. So that's when we'll open registration. We'll all be in the office to answer phone calls and what have you. But in terms of an open house, we're not going to do that again this year.
Can people walk into the office with questions?
Yeah, but I would recommend they
Wouldn't
call.
encourage it.
Yeah. Yep.
And then
So
you have a date for Westwood Day.
we do. As a matter of fact, and I was
Yeah.
hoping to, I was hoping to call into the select board meeting tonight where they were going to, I guess, announce / approve it, which it's September 17th. There is a home game the night before, so we'll do the fireworks and all of that. This year, it's the 10th Westwood Day, and I believe it's the 125th anniversary of Westwood this year. So we're
Big
hoping,
deal.
yeah, we're hoping to make it a little bit bigger and better than in years past. Chris and I have been talking. We're going to have we're going to approach it just a little bit differently this year. We're going to have some of the other departments within the town participate in the planning of it as well, on top of just volunteering the day of.
That's
So we're gonna-
great.
Yeah, so we're going to.
It's not Westwood Recreation Day.
Exactly. I'm so glad to
Yes.
hear that. That is fantastic.
Yeah, so what we're going to do, and we're going to have a kickoff meeting pretty soon. Just like we've done in the past, where each recreation staff leads a work stream. So for instance, the past 3 or 4 years, I've done entertainment, and Sue has done food court, etc. So each of us will have our own work stream like we have in the past, but other members from the other departments will join that work stream to form a mini committee. And
Good.
in those committees, the work will be divvied out. Ideas, hopefully, the new people will bring new ideas and whatnot. Yeah, so we're going to manage it like that. So rather than us doing everything in our work stream, we'll have a group of 2 or 3 people to work on that work stream. Okay, so that's going to be a little bit different this year. Pretty much starting tomorrow, now that it's official, we'll start the process, and there's a few things that we'll want to do right away with some key pieces of equipment that we'll want to make sure we lock down right away for that date, like the stages and whatnot. That's very important, for Westwood Day. So, so the process starts. We want to start getting some sponsors, and I've already got a commitment from one new platinum sponsor that I just got commitment from last week, which is terrific. So here we go.
Excellent.
Couldn't have picked a worse date for me.
I heard
Sorry,
your
buddy.
sigh.
I thought it would be like the 24th. I don't know why, but I'm doing an overnight for work. We're doing a cutover. We do upgrades and systems. So every month somebody has to volunteer. And that day, that Saturday night into the next day is my 24-hour shift. So I will not be doing anything.
Yep. So
You don't want to
Unfortunately.
do setup at like 5 a.m. and then go into your overnight? No?
Oh, no, that's
Or
okay.
fight with people about not parking in the lot all day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be fun.
I won't miss that. I can tell you that, Mitch. I won't miss that.
So the date was chosen primarily because there was a home football game the week before, and then mid-October. And the feeling was like the October 14th or whatever it was. I don't remember the exact date,
Too iffy?
but it was too late.
Yeah.
And the weekend before was Norwood Day, and we don't really want to compete with Norwood Day.
No.
And then the week after, which was a away game, the 24th, was Medfield Day, and those are the 2 days that we want to try to avoid competing with if we can. So I reached out to Norwood, I reached out to Medfield, they told me those dates, and Matt Gillis gave me the football schedule. So it kind of worked out perfectly that we have a home game on the weekend that neither Norwood nor Medfield has their day. So
Yeah.
that's how we derived the day. So.
It's a good day.
All right, so we're off and running now. Unless there's any other questions for Westwood Day, that's about it. That's all I got for that. So the next item on my agenda is the fields and facilities, and I just wanted to give you a quick update on where we are with the pool deck. We've talked to you the fact that we are in the process of we're going to retile the pool deck this year after that we got 50 years of use out of it. So we are waiting for, and honestly, hopefully the engineer gets it to us any day. I kind of would hope to have had it by now, if I'm being honest, but the bid specs so that we can go out for bid Our original hope was that we got this done in April. I mean, we pretty much have to get this thing published and because it's a big number, and we will have to, go through an IFB. And so April is probably not going to happen unless it could happen real quick. May is kind of, we do have programming in the pool that if we were to go for May, we'd have to move. So our alternative date would be the last week of August into September. So those are the 2 dates that we're looking for this to happen. Okay. So that's where we are with that. And I think
So-
that's all I had.
Yeah, so in terms of other items not reasonably anticipated, at the end of the day, or a couple hours before this meeting, I guess maybe I sent you guys a letter that I received about the Registry of Deeds in Norfolk County and losing some IT positions, and they want all the commissions in the neighboring towns to sort of write a letter encouraging those positions not to be not to go away. I don't really feel like I know enough about this to be able to suggest writing such a letter. What I thought, I mean, I sent it to all of you in case anyone else has some strong feelings, but I thought what I'd do is send it to Chris Coleman. He may have already received it. There was a letter accompanying it from the Board of Selectmen, or the Select Board from Millis, encouraging all commissions to write a letter to urge the Registry of
I don't
Deeds
have
not to
anything
get.
from you, Ann, on this.
I'm sorry?
I don't have anything from you on this. Did it come from Angela?
Neither do I.
It
Oh, I
was
thought
mailed to us. I received it in the mail.
I have it in the mail.
no, I thought did I not send the email? I thought I sent you guys.
I got something from the town in the mail. I
I didn't get anything in the mail from the town.
or
I
maybe it
got
was
some
from Ann.
from the commission, from the Registry of Deeds. I got a letter.
Registry of
asking us to
Deeds,
do
that's
that.
right.
Yeah,
I
the
got it from
Registry of Deeds. I got
Deeds.
it yesterday. I really thought I sent you the email at the end of the day with a picture of this letter.
And
I
I'm
did get-
looking at the email that you sent and you replied to the, I think to.
I replied to Angela, but it didn't go to everyone. Crumb. I was
Right.
trying to do it quickly while I was working.
Right.
All right, that's what happened. I sent it just to thinking it was going to go to everyone, and I didn't even
Well,
check. Okay,
and the way that she sends out the emails is where.
blind CC.
When we're sending you, documents for this meeting, it's BCC'd.
Yeah,
because-
I didn't even check that.
Yeah.
I'm sure I knew that too. I was just rushing. I think rather than, I'm just going to send this letter to Chris Coleman, because if the select board thinks that it's a good idea to keep these positions, maybe they'll make a recommendation to the rest of the commissions in town to consider sending an email to the Registry of Deeds or a letter. I don't know enough about it, so.
I received a similar letter. It
Okay.
just arrived in my mailbox today. So I haven't had a chance to look into it to see, exactly what's going on. And I was going to ask around to a few folks within the town as well to see
Okay.
if they know anything about this and what we're expected to do with it. So, yeah, I can't offer any insight.
Yeah, and since some of you haven't even seen the letter, then it's not worth talking about here. But yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send it to Chris, see what he thinks, and not recommend we do anything as a board without any knowledge.
Yep.
Does anyone else have anything else that can't reasonably be anticipated? Okay. March 21st for the next meeting. I can do the
I'm sorry.
21st.
I was on mute. Are we gonna
Oh,
ask
sorry,
for,
Paul.
according to our bylaws, are we gonna ask for a 7th member from the selectmen?
Paul, Paul, they don't have anybody. People.
Yeah, there was something
volunteer.
in the wire that all of the boards are looking for members. There
Mhm.
was,
Mhm.
that's the
but-
second thing I've seen from the town, that commissions are looking for members. I
I
don't
saw,
know.
I saw that, but the Recreation Commission wasn't one of the commissions that were looking for
Oh, I didn't
volunteers.
click to,
Check that out. Yeah.
oh, yeah, then we should tell them that they should
Or maybe
include
they're
us.
not. Who knows what they're doing? I don't know. But again, we're short.
No, we
so-
should tell them they should include us if we
Yeah.
have an open position. I can mention that to Chris.
Fun group. People should want to join us. Come on. Since we're almost done, before everyone leaves, I just put a plug in for this Friday, March 4th. The Westwood ladies Wolverine basketball team has their first playoff game. They got a bye because they're rated number 7th in Massachusetts.
Wow.
Katie,
Wow.
they play at 6:30 against, there's a play-in game, and they play the winner of that. They were rated number 7 in Division 2. They're 14-5, and it's a good take. So if anybody wants to go Friday night, no, I don't blame you if you don't, but I'm
Yeah.
I
throwing
didn't
that out
know they
there.
were that good. Oh, cool.
They had a
Yeah,
good season.
Colleen tells me your daughter's having a great year, Mitch. So that's congratulations to you and your daughter on that.
Thank you, but I don't want to, that wasn't a plug for my daughter, but
No, but I'm
they
just,
play
I
good
wanted to throw that
basketball.
in.
Katie, young kids love that stuff. They get to play, bring your kids, especially if they're interested in basketball, kind of get them started early. Kids really enjoy it. And so something to think about Friday night at the gym.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, cool.
Good luck to them. We'll be rooting them on.
Yeah.
So, and as we talk about next meeting, what did we say, March 21st? Just one quick other note that they've extended our ability to continue with Zoom meetings until, I believe, July. Okay, so it was due to expire, I think, in April.
Okay.
So they extended it a few more months, so we can continue to go Zoom until then if you want.
What I guess if people have, did people want to just email Rich with their preference?
And I'm not
Zoom or-
encouraging it. I'm just letting you know that it was extended because that date was impending that we were going to have to start meeting in person pretty soon, but we can keep going. And I know the last time we talked about this,
They were
it was split 50-50 about who wanted to continue Zoom, and I'm indifferent. I mean, it's very convenient to do Zoom,
I know.
but I do enjoy the in-person meetings as well. So
I do miss seeing everybody, but I get
You're muted now, Paul.
I do miss seeing everybody, but I gotta tell you, getting on the Zoom and then just being, here and there and just like that. I mean, it's, after working all day,
Yeah.
I'll do this 7 days to Sunday.
Well, I can't apparently send an email while I'm trying to work and get ready for this meeting, so.
So you'll keep doing Zoom, right?
I'll do whatever people want to do.
Yeah.
okay.
So.
Well-
All right, so next meeting, Monday, the 21st of March. And so now I guess all we need is a motion to adjourn.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have one more
Oh.
thing. I promised somebody in the neighborhood that I would do this. And I told them, are we done with the discussion on pickleball courts?
No, I don't think we are.
Because with the discussion was we were going to wait until the school decision was made. The school decision was made. But,
Mhm.
Is anybody even using the pickleball courts up at the Downey?
In the winter, I would say no.
Well, no, I
Yeah,
know, but
certainly not.
has anybody used those pickleball courts? So maybe we can add that to the next agenda.
Yep.
To talk about the pickleball courts.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, I think the town's kind of still, giving us the runaround again, right, Rich? That they're not willing to discuss the Sheehan site yet?
Well, yeah, I guess I would say the way I would classify it is that there's a reluctance to use that site until there's a determination of what's going to happen with Sheehan.
Mhm.
Which it does need work.
Oh yeah,
And it's probably not gonna happen for like 7 years.
it's going to be a while.
So we need an alternate site.
So I think there's, in the program, you're gonna be lining the courts at the high school, 3 of the courts at the high school, is that right?
I hope to do all 6 resurfacing. Yeah.
But line them, you're gonna have tennis courts, and then are all of them gonna be pickleball line too, or 3 of them? Because you're gonna be hosting pickleball at the high school for classes this spring. That's what somebody mentioned in the,
But I didn't know that they were going to be lined.
No, the last time we all talked about it, you didn't want to do that. So I wasn't planning on doing that, but
okay.
no.
So
They
in the
have little rubber. They're not ideal. They move. I'm doing the pickleball. So they have little rubber yellow lines that they sort of put down, but you step on them and they move, and then it's like, was that ball out or in? And who, it can
Is
get
this at the high
competitive. So
school?
Heavy competition going on, huh?
that was at Deerfield, but they used them at the high school when it was warm, and
Yeah.
I was there for like 2 sessions. So I'm
Okay.
assuming that's what's coming back to the high
Okay.
school.
So
Yeah, Liz,
it's
well,
portable
Yeah.
pickleball courts.
People are competitive, yeah, Rich.
yeah.
That's
And
awesome.
it's
Liz,
funny.
I think it's great.
The whole thing, Liz, was the fact that the tennis courts have seen an unbelievable amount of use since the pandemic started. So
Yeah, tennis
wanna-
just in general, because it
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
you could socially distance.
yeah,
So
Right.
we do need an alternative site. I mean, we do have lines at Downey, but we don't have permanent nets. That's still a tennis
Mhm.
court with pickleball lines.
Yep.
We need a permanent site that's
Yep.
going to be ready quicker than 7 years because
so
we've
what
been
I- what
putting
I-
it
I'm-
off.
Why
And
not
can I
push
just
for it?
interrupt for 1 sec if I may?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that I think we should talk about this at the next meeting as
Okay.
an agenda
Yes.
item. I think we're getting too detailed for an item not reasonably.
On a
in-
list, yeah,
So if it's okay with you guys, it would be my
Yes.
preference that we
sure.
talk about it next time.
perfect.
Yeah, can we have some sort of an update as to like,
Yeah.
Not just start at the level that we're at now, but maybe have some ideas to discuss if
Mhm.
possible,
Sure.
if there's anything. Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Happy
All right,
to share
everybody.
what and I can tell you I've had a lot of conversations, so I'm happy to do that.
I'm sure you have, yeah. So if there's nothing else, a motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn.
Thanks, Sheila. And second? Katie, second. And all right, we'll go in reverse order. Sheila, are you in favor?
Yes.
And Paul, are you in favor?
I am.
Mitch?
Yes.
Yes. And Katie, are you in favor? Oh, you're muted, I think.
Am?
Oh, now I can hear you. So yes.
Yeah.
And I'm in favor. So the meeting is adjourned at 8:08 p.m.